Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be another book recommendation video, and this time I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite angsty romances. I love angst in romances. I just find that it goes by a lot quicker. Like, I feel like I'm just like binge read angsty books. So without further ado, let's hop into the video. Okay, so the first book that I want to recommend is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. Abby Jimenez is one of my favorite authors. I have now read her entire backlist and all of her books, which isn't that many. I think she only has 5. But I absolutely loved every single one of them. I don't think any of them were lower than a 4-star because I just love her books so much. I think she writes such like dynamic characters. Like, all of the characters are just so lovable. But this one in particular, actually quite a few of her romances I feel like are pretty angsty, but I'm going to talk about Part of Your World this time just because it's got a whole bunch of different tropes in it too. It's got an age gap, but the female main character is the older one in this case. She's 10 years older. Alexis is 10 years older than Daniel, and they meet one night when she is stranded on the road in his little small town, and they end up having a one-night stand. They just have like such chemistry that she keeps going back to hit this small town to see him, and it's just so relaxing for her because she's an ER doctor and she is like, her life is constantly on the move. She's from a big legacy family of doctors, and so she's got a lot of pressure on her to make a name for herself. So like, there's big differences in his world. He's from the small town and he's actually the mayor, I think, of that small town because it's so small, and she's from like the city, and she is older and she's got like a lot of things going for, like, her family is just very like pressures her a lot. So that's the concept of this book, is that like they have to figure out a way to either meld their worlds together or just let it themselves live apart, which obviously they cannot do because they are perfect for each other. There's so much angst because of the separate worlds. They constantly like feel, both of them constantly feel like they might not be enough for the other, but they like each other so much that they can't let the other go. So it's just so good. I love this book. Daniel is such a sweetheart. I love him with my whole heart, and Alexis is such a powerful woman, and I love it. So this one is definitely up there in some of my favorite books, some of my favorite angsty books. The next book I want to recommend is Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. I love this book. I feel like everyone's been talking about it, and it's for good reason. It's so good. It's sort of a dual timeline where they are exes and then they're forced to work together. He is a grumpy florist and she is like she's a wedding planner who has severe commitment issues, and they're forced to work together after a bad breakup where she just can't commit because her mom has been married like so many times, and Elliot is just like he's like grumpy on the outside, but he is so sweet when you read his point of view. He's such like a cinnamon roll hero in the middle and then like grumpy exterior. I love him. But there's a lot of angst because they are exes that have to work together, and there's no way they cannot work together because it's like a high stakes wedding. It's going to be televised. It's very important for both of their businesses, so they can't like give up the opportunity to work on it. And there's a lot of angst and tension, and also the fact that it is dual timeline, like you go back and forth, you can see love that they have for each other, and they keep gravitating towards each other even in the present timeline. And I find it's like really easy to binge read just because you just are trying to figure out what could possibly have happened between them because they just seem so great together. So yeah, that one's a very good one as well. The next one that I want to recommend is Happy Place by Emily Henry. I know this one is kind of controversial for an Emily Henry book. Either you absolutely love it or you don't, and I can see why people don't, but I personally love this book, and I think the angst and the tension between the two characters is just like undeniable in this book. So it follows Harriet and Wynne, who have been dating since college, and they're part of this larger friend group from college, and they all just are very like, it's like a found family. None of them really have great family lives individually, so they all like really connected in college. But Harriet and Wynne actually broke up, but they don't want to ruin their like friend group's annual trip together, so they pretend that they're still dating, so they have to share a room together and they have to share a bed and everything like that, and it's so awkward but also so good. And the Emily Henry is just like the queen of banter. She writes such good banter, and you can feel the tension, and they have to pretend that they're still dating, and they both wish that they were still dating, and it's just so good. It's so good. I love it. I think it's just the ending that people have the big issue with, and personally for me, it worked for me, but I understand why it wouldn't for others. But yeah, the angst and the tension and the banter and everything in this book is just so well done in my opinion, and I love the characters with so much of my heart. Like, I honestly related to Harriet like so, like almost too much. Like, it was weird. I've never related so much to a character before when I'm reading them. So I absolutely love this book, and I think the angst in this book is just like top tier. Okay, and the next book is Magnolia Parks, and I think the entire series for this I have not quite finished. I'm on the 4th book, so I haven't quite finished, but I think all of them can fit into this super angsty category, and if you've read them or if you've heard anybody talk about them, then this is going to be no surprise to you. A lot of people describe it as a Gossip Girl sort of type vibe, but I honestly kind of think that does a disservice to the book to go into it thinking like Chuck and Blair, Gossip Girl, because to me, I kept thinking about them because I had heard that going into it. So I know I just said that, but I would try and go into it blind as much as possible, because it is, I think, best if you go into it blind. Basically, it's about a friend group, of like a big friend group who like all went to boarding school and stuff together. They're like found family. They all have like not great home lives, but so they're basically one big family, but one big incestuous family, because they all seem to have slept together at one point or another. And there is 2 of them, Magnolia and BJ, who have basically been together, or like everyone knew that they were going to be together since they were children. And one time when they're dating, BJ ends up hooking up with someone else, having sex with someone else, and he comes back and tells Magnolia, so they break up, and since then they just can't stop hurting each other. And that's basically the story, is just like them going back and forth and hurting each other and just wanting and pining for each other so much. I can see why people get annoyed with this, and for me it was just maybe a little too long, because it was like 1 or 2 fight scenes too long for me, but I still loved it, and it's so easy to read. The chapters are short, the like banter is there, it's really well done. And I personally actually like Daisy Hates books a bit more. I don't know what it is. I think that's an unpopular opinion, but I love Christian and Daisy so much, and you get Julian's point of view, and I just love it so much. I wasn't sure how I was gonna like it going into it. Like, after reading Magnolia Parks, I was just like, why would I want to be reading about another couple when there is this large unresolved conflict in this other book? How am I supposed to go to another one? But it's so good. I like Daisy Hates so much more, and I'm so excited. I'm so happy I'm back in their relationship for the 4th book. So yeah, this whole series is like angst. It's messy. It's so messy, but it's so fun and such a fun read. Okay, and the last one I have to recommend is Garnet Flats by Daphne Perry. This is the 3rd book in the Eden series, and I think this one is the most ANGSTY. This one follows Talia and Foster, and they used to date in college time. He wasn't in college, she was, but around that time, that age. And they were dating for 2 years and it was getting super serious, but right before she was leaving for medical school and they would have to do long distance, he told her that he's going to marry her best friend. He doesn't give any explanation as to why or anything like that, and so obviously that leaves her very heartbroken and untrusting of men and people a lot. But then 7 years later, he shows up at her door begging for her forgiveness and trying to get Talia to give him a second chance. So it's the first half of the book is just him trying his very hardest to get her to even give him the time of day, and then it's after that is them sort of working through their conflict, and it's so good. For some reason people don't like this one, but I absolutely loved it. I think if you like angst, I think you'll like this book, because the angst in this book is so well done. Because like, imagine that you're like a boyfriend that you think the world of decides that he's going to be in, like, he's gonna be marrying your best friend. Like, that's crazy. So obviously the angst from that is just amazing. So yeah, I really like this one. It's just very well done, I think. And on top of that, he is a single dad, so love it. Okay, those are all the angsty romances that I'm going to talk to you about today. Let me know in the comments what your favorite angsty romance is, because I absolutely love them and I'm always looking for more. Make sure you subscribe if you're not already, and give this a thumbs up because it really helps support my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys!